This truth is dangerous for those who live in the ego, but I will tell you anyway, because if you have come here, it means you are already tired of lies. You are tired of pretending, of performing, of living as someone you are not. You may not admit it, but deep down you know. Everything you call yourself is a fragile construction, and the moment truth touches it, it begins to crumble. That is why truth is dangerous. Not because it kills you, but because it kills what you are not. I am not here to comfort your ego. I am here to destroy it. The ego cannot be comforted. It can only be dismantled. And once it falls apart, only then can your real life begin. But people cling to the ego like a drowning man clings to a piece of wood, even if that piece of wood is taking them down. You have been told since childhood, be someone, become important, prove your worth. Society has built its entire structure on this illusion. Schools, religions, governments, families, they all feed the same poison. Be somebody, and you believed it. You spent your entire life chasing an image, a name, an identity. But have you ever stopped to ask, who is the one doing the chasing? Who is this I that wants to become something? When I say this truth is dangerous, I mean it literally, because the moment you begin to see, you begin to lose everything that was false. Your pride, your certainty, your ambitions, they begin to fade. And the ego will fight back. It will resist with all its power, whispering, don't listen, don't go further, stay safe, stay important. The ego's safety is death. It lives in the grave of repetition, in the comfort of lies. You see, the ego is not something real. It is a defense mechanism. It is born out of fear, the fear of being nothing. You have been conditioned to think that being nothing is terrible, that emptiness is your enemy. But I tell you, emptiness is your freedom. Because only when you are nothing can you truly be everything. When I was a child, I used to look at people and wonder why everyone seemed so serious, so tense, so false. They were all acting, wearing masks, pretending to be happy. And I could feel that beneath the surface there was fear. Fear of being exposed, fear of not being enough. As I grew up, I realized that this is the foundation of human misery. We have built our entire civilization around this lie called the ego. We worship the false self and crucify the real one. The ego is clever. It hides behind noble words, love, morality, success, even spirituality. You can find ego hiding in temples and churches, meditating with its eyes closed, pretending to be enlightened. The ego can even use God as decoration for its own vanity. That is why I say, truth is dangerous. Because once you see through the ego, you can no longer worship false gods. You cannot play the same games anymore. You cannot fit into a world built on lies. People ask me, Osho, why do you always speak against the ego? Because the ego is the greatest prison ever built, and you built it yourself. The walls are made of your fears, your desires, your need to be somebody. And every time you succeed, every time the world praises you, the prison becomes stronger. You decorate your cage and call it freedom. You say, I have achieved. But who is this I? You say, I am successful. Who is it that succeeds? The one who was afraid of being nothing. The one who cannot exist without comparison. The one who lives through others' opinions. You have never lived for yourself. You have lived as a reflection in mirrors held by others. And then one day truth knocks on your door. Not as a belief, not as a philosophy, but as a presence. It comes silently, and suddenly everything you believed in begins to dissolve. You feel naked, lost, terrified. This is the beginning of freedom. But most people run back to their illusions. They close the door before the truth can enter fully. I am telling you, don't run. Let the truth burn you. Let it strip you of everything false, because what remains afterward is real, unshakable, alive, and free. But understand, the ego will not surrender easily. It will pretend to be spiritual. It will say, I am humble now. It will take pride in its humility. It will make a religion out of its own destruction. That is the final trick. So beware. Even when you think you are losing the ego, it can come back through the back door. This is why I say this truth is dangerous for those who live in the ego, because it is not a truth you can learn safely. You cannot hold it in your mind and continue your old life. Once you hear it, something begins to shake inside. The ground beneath your identity starts to crack, and if you allow it, everything false will fall away. Most people come to me asking for peace, for happiness. They say, Osho, tell us how to be calm, how to meditate. But I tell them first you must die, not the body, to the false self. Peace cannot exist where the ego lives, because the ego needs conflict. It survives through struggle. The ego is always comparing, always competing, always proving something. It cannot rest, and so you remain restless no matter how rich, successful, or spiritual you become. So when I say I will tell you this dangerous truth, I do not mean danger to your life, and I mean danger to your false life. The ego is the counterfeit coin. Truth is the flame that exposes it. And once you see the counterfeit, you can never be fooled again. When you begin to see the false, the mind trembles. It does not know how to exist without the ego. The ego has been your anchor, your center, even if it was a fake one. It gave you a sense of direction, of purpose. It told you who you were. So when truth enters, it does not only destroy illusions, it dismantles your entire idea of identity. That is why enlightenment feels like death, because it is death, the death of everything you were not. People think awakening is a kind of ecstasy, a beautiful light, a divine experience. It can be. But first, it is destruction. It is the tearing apart of your old skin. It is chaos. It is the collapse of everything you believed yourself to be. Only after that collapse can there be peace. First comes the storm, then the silence. You see, the ego has created layers upon layers of lies to protect itself. It says, I am intelligent, I am moral, I am spiritual, I am successful. But these are only roles, costumes. You keep changing them depending on the stage you stand upon, and you call that life. What kind of life is that? It is a performance. You are an actor who has forgotten he is acting. And because of that forgetfulness, you suffer. The real is hidden behind the false, but not far. It is not in the Himalayas, not in the temples, not in the stars. It is here, right now, behind the mask you wear. But you are so identified with the mask that you cannot see the face underneath. You have become the mask. You even fear removing it because you have forgotten there is a face at all. When I say the truth is dangerous, it is because the moment you remove the mask, the crowd disappears. No one will recognize you anymore. The people who loved your mask will turn away. They did not love you. They loved the image you created. When that image dies, their affection dies with it. This is one of the greatest pains of awakening, realizing how false love has been. Real love cannot exist between two egos. It is impossible. Two egos can make deals, they can make arrangements, they can fulfill each other's needs, but that is not love. Love happens only when there is no ego. When there is no I, love flows naturally, silently, without demand. It is not something you do, it is something you become. But the ego is terrified of love because love dissolves it. The ego can exist only in separation. It needs boundaries, definitions, control. Love has none of these. Love is chaos, surrender, vulnerability. The ego calls that weakness, but that is its greatest lie. Real strength is not the ability to dominate, it is the courage to disappear. People keep asking me, Osho, if we destroy the ego, what will remain? I laugh. That question itself comes from the ego. The ego always wants to know what's next, what's the reward, what's the outcome. It cannot do anything without a goal. But truth has no goal. Truth is, it does not need to become. Imagine the ocean asking, if I lose my waves, what will I be? It will be the ocean. That is the irony. What you fear losing is exactly what you are not. The ego is the wave. Consciousness is the ocean. But you have forgotten the vastness of your being because you are obsessed with the shape of your wave. You want your wave to be higher, prettier, more admired. You compare it to other waves, not realizing you are all the same ocean, pretending to be separate. This is the root of human misery, comparison. The ego lives through it. Without comparison, it dies instantly. It always needs to look around and say, I am better, or I am worse. Even inferiority is ego. Many people hide their ego behind self-pity. They say, I am nothing, I am worthless, but they are still centered on I. Whether you feel superior or inferior, the I remains the same disease. So I tell you, don't try to become humble, just become aware. Humility that is practiced is hypocrisy. Awareness that arises is freedom. When you see the game, you step out of it. You do not need to destroy the ego violently. You simply stop feeding it. You stop taking it seriously. You start laughing at your own pretensions. And that laughter is the beginning of wisdom. Do you see how fragile the ego is? A single word can hurt it. Someone ignores you and you feel invisible. Someone disagrees with you and anger burns inside. What kind of self needs constant protection? Only the false. The real needs no defense. The real is silent like the sky. Clouds may come and go, but the sky remains untouched. The ego wants recognition because it has no substance of its own. It feeds on attention. That is why the modern world has become addicted to showing off through wealth, power, even spirituality. You have created an entire marketplace of personalities. Everyone is selling themselves. You call it success, but it is slavery. You are enslaved by your own image. Truth is not interested in your image. Truth is interested in your being. And your being cannot be known through mirrors. It can only be known through silence. But silence is the last thing the ego wants, because in silence it cannot exist. The ego lives through noise, the noise of thoughts, of comparisons, of ambition. That is why meditation is so dangerous. It begins to starve the ego. Slowly, the noise fades. Slowly, you begin to see the space behind it, vast, open, empty. And in that emptiness you realize you were never the noise. This realization is the revolution, and it begins not with struggle, but with seeing. Seeing the false as false is enough. The false cannot survive under the light of awareness. You don't have to fight it. You just have to observe it completely, without judgment, without resistance. Then the ego dissolves like darkness before the dawn. When you begin to see the false as false, something extraordinary happens. Not in the sky, not in some heaven far away, but inside you. It is as if a heavy stone you have been carrying for lifetimes suddenly falls away. You feel lighter, freer, more alive. But then another illusion arises. The ego says, "Look, I have dropped the ego." It creeps back disguised as the one who has transcended. That is how subtle it is. You cannot trick it. It will trick you. This is why awareness must become your constant companion. You cannot be aware only in moments of meditation and asleep in daily life. Awareness must move into your ordinary acts, walking, talking, eating, breathing, because the ego hides in the ordinary. It uses routine as camouflage. It whispers through habits, through roles, through duty. And unless you watch carefully, you will miss it again and again. The world respects the ego because the world itself is built by it. You are rewarded for being ambitious, for being competitive, for being somebody. The moment you drop those ambitions, the world begins to call you a failure. But remember, the world's definition of success is precisely what keeps humanity in chains. It has made you rich on the outside and poor within. It has given you power, but taken your peace. I tell you, it is better to be a nobody who is awake than a king who is asleep, because the king's palace is only a decorated prison. The ego is his golden cage, and the keys are in his own pocket. Yet he never uses them because he fears the open sky. Freedom frightens the ego. It needs limits, walls, structure. Freedom feels like death because it has no boundaries. The paradox is that what you call death is actually the beginning of life. When the false dies, the real begins to breathe. But people are so identified with their illusions that they protect them more fiercely than life itself. They fight for their beliefs, their religions, their identities, as if defending truth when in fact they are defending the ego. This is why truth is so rare. It requires immense courage to let go of all that you think you are. It requires courage to be nothing. You will not find many willing to walk that path. The crowd prefers comfort over consciousness. It prefers a sweet lie over a bitter truth. The crowd will always worship the liar who flatters them and crucify the one who tells them the truth. That is why every enlightened being is misunderstood, hated, or killed. I have always said, truth is not for the cowardly. Truth is for those who can die to themselves. You cannot reach it by reading scriptures, following rituals, or believing in God. You can reach it only by seeing who you are not.